Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Space Tourism Conference webinar series produced by the Space Tourism Society. I'm John Spencer, founder of the Society, outer space architect, and chairperson for the conference. We want to thank Ivan Rosenberg and his Aerospace and Defense Forum for his great support of this series. Thanks, Ivan. We will have 4 more webinars leading to our conference on April 28th next year here in Los Angeles. The next one is on October 1st, featuring the Axiom Space Company and their plans to expand the International Space Station. Today, we are exploring space experiences on Earth, and we are fortunate to have 2 of the world's leading pioneers in connecting people to space experiences. Our moderator is Allison, the co-founder of the Space Tourism Conference, the CEO of the Interactive Television Alliance, and chair of digital media for the Los Angeles Venture Association. Take it away, Allison.
Thank you, John. Great to see everybody. Yeah, this is one of those fortuitous times where all of our backgrounds converge together in a happy happenstance of profitability and fun. So we're going to be talking about Earth-based experiences, space-based experiences, space-themed experiences on Earth. We'll have little videos from both of our speakers today, and then we'll have a chat. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. It'll each take about a minute to do the intro. Oh, yes, Ivan's reminding me, everyone make sure keep your camera off and mute your audio and do all the directions and we've got up there on the guidelines. Thank you, Ivan. And we'll maybe, if we have time at the end, we'll talk about half an hour and take a few questions depending on how that goes. So our first is on deck is Ryan Holmes, who's the CEO of SpaceVR. So Ryan, come on and tell us who you are and what the company does, and then Ivan is going to be playing your video. Thanks. I'm going to go off for the moment.
Hi, my name is Ryan Holmes. I'm the CEO of SpaceVR. SpaceVR is the closest way to get to space on Earth. And so we're really excited to be rolling out to about 23 locations globally across 5 countries. And so I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
What are those locations? We'll talk about that in a minute. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and show your video, and then Matt will come and give us his 411 and play his. So thanks. Let's play Ryan's video. Wow, that's very evocative. Very cool. Okay, so chill out for a second there, Ryan, and we're going to bring Matt on. And Matt, to tell everyone what Zero Gravity Corporation is, ZeroG, and then we'll play your video.
Hi, thank you very much, and thank you for including me in this. We're very excited to be part of this, and I'm also very excited to try Ryan's immersive experience. I think it's very cool. We've actually talked to people there about potentially working on some things together. Zero Gravity is the only FAA certified plane that creates a zero gravity experience in reality. Our plane does it by flying a series of what are called parabolic flights, of which point you experience 15 microgravity events of about 30 seconds each, where you are floating in space, doing backflips, somersaults, hanging on the ceiling, all things that you have seen astronauts do. So this is about as close as you can get to being an astronaut without going into space. And we're very excited to continue to expand what we're doing and include more people in what we do as far as research and the consumer markets.
That was wonderfully concise and detailed at the same time, Matt. Kudos to you. Okay, so Ivan, could you please play Matt's video?
Okay, last week, we proved this, right? You don't have to go to outer space if you want to experience what is known as zero gravity.
Our own Lauren Lister experienced weightlessness right here in LA, in Long Beach. She joins us in studio now. So you loved this so much. This was like a dream, right?
I did. For me, it was kind of the ultimate thrill ride is how I would describe it. I mean, like nothing I've ever felt before. And for others on the flight, it was a bucket list type of thing, or they have goals to someday go to space. Now the flight takes you up. It gives you the experience of the gravity on Mars, the moon, and then zero gravity like an astronaut on the space station orbiting Earth would. And hey, you know what? It was all on camera, so just take a look.
This is me, floating through the air like an astronaut. Look, there's KTLA's Christina Pascucci too. But we are definitely not in space, so let's back up. We boarded this commercial jet in Long Beach, a Boeing 727 to be exact. It's obviously been customized a bit. To achieve a zero gravity experience, the company, aptly named ZeroG, takes passengers up where a normal passenger flight would travel, but then flies in the shape of hills called parabolas, thousands of feet down and thousands of feet up. At a certain point each time, going over the top of that hill, you become weightless for about 30 seconds. So you can actually pretend to fly like a superhero or drift around. Our photographer, John, seemed to be pretty good at somersaults. Me, not so much. And check this out. Water floats like bubbles.
So here we go. Here we go.
The type of flight has been used by NASA for training and research and to achieve weightless scenes in the film Apollo 13. This company, ZeroG, has consulted on movies like Gravity, been featured on The Bachelor, and they've taken people like Elon Musk, Kate Upton, and Stephen Hawking up for a ride. Today, it was our turn, and anyone can sign up and pay to go, not outer space, but definitely out of this world. From Zero Gravity, I'm Lauren Lister, KTLA 5 News.
Now, the company does have flights coming up in the next few weeks in Seattle and Las Vegas. The CEO tells me they're working on a sponsor for a Heroes flight with COVID-19 first responders, but they do operate flights all year long, all around the country. The cost, a cool $6,700. For more information, you can visit GoZeroG.com.
Perfect. So Ryan, come on back on. I don't know why my video isn't on. Let's try that. There we go. Awesome. So I think, first of all, it's wonderful to see two sides of this, which on Ryan's, your video is very ethereal and kind of inward in terms of the tone, just in terms of this happenstance. I've certainly in SpaceVR, that doesn't have to be the experience, but it was very interesting, the contrast there. And I'd like to start by talking a little bit about how you guys thought to form the company originally, the origin story of the company. And yeah, vis-a-vis your own personal professional backgrounds, but also what your notion was about this space tourism and space experiential kind of sector. So why don't we start with Matt and then go back to Ryan.
Thank you very much, Allison. ZeroG had its first flight almost 15 years ago, 2004, 2005. It took 9 years plus and about $10 million to build this plane, get it through the FAA, and what had basically only been done by NASA for training NASA astronauts then became available primarily for research and then for passenger flights. I took over as CEO of the company last year with the idea of expanding our footprint, changing how we interact with people, collaborative partnerships, and also, we've started an international expansion program, and in about, a month or so, we'll be announcing another venture utilizing our plane and the ZeroG experience.
Oh, great. Yeah, we definitely want to talk more about that, like tweaking of the model and everything. So Ryan, on your side, I think you came out of VR already, right? You had a background in advanced technologies of this kind.
Yes, Allison. So when we first started, I think I was very dissatisfied with the state of the world. And I feel like a lot of people could share that sentiment now. And I was thinking, what positive thing could I do to positively impact the world? And so I always admired Elon for his ability to do this. And so in my search for what that would be, I came across this documentary called Overview. And this is an award-winning documentary. It has 8 million views, very beautiful film. And it's all about what astronauts experience in space and how profound it is. They show how these extremely trained military personnel that might be trained for 20 years will go up there and they'll look at the Earth and they'll just start crying because of how beautiful it is. And they'll just have these profound experiences. And they'll understand things, the interconnection of all things from first-person perspective. There doesn't really need to be much talking or explaining of anything. It's just it's a raw, beautiful experience. And so once I learned about that, I read the book, The Overview Effect by Frank White, which I highly recommend for anyone interested. And
yes, and Frank's involved in our Space Tourism Conference, and actually will be on one of these webinars coming up.
Yes, and Frank is a really amazing, really intelligent individual. And the book just documents repeatedly how astronauts consistently have this experience. And so, I saw my contribution to the world as recreating this for the world. And it's been very interesting. We started out with a quote unquote modest idea of putting a camera on the space station so that people can experience it from inside, and quickly moved to our own satellite so we can have more control, higher resolution. And currently we have the satellite paid to launch on SpaceX, and we have the satellite 80% built. And now we're just working on a distribution model for the content. And so we've hit that distribution model with the 23 locations, working with float spas. And we've been inspired by astronaut Nicole Stott, who said to us that the float tank is the closest to space that she believes on Earth, that exists on Earth. And so really inspired by what astronaut Nicole Stott said, we designed and built our own VR headset that works inside the float tank. It's the only one in the world that works in the float tank. It's a very unique environment. 1,500 pounds of Epsom salt so that you can feel like you're floating in the water at a certain buoyancy. And so combining these two elements, we have people coming out of the float tank and they are consistently, they say things that only astronauts say. And
well, this is pretty amazing that you went to the lengths to be an OEM. I mean, that's, in our industry,
yeah.
Usually somebody would just go do a partnership with Oculus or do some other thing. I mean, yeah. that is a commitment to the quality of the experience. Did you think of yourself in doing this? I mean, you mentioned 23 locations. Are these geographically distributed around North America or globally? What are you thinking?
So now it's global. There is one in Amsterdam, one in Munich, one in Hong Kong, multiple in New York, multiple in New Jersey, multiple in Seattle, San Diego, Napa, multiple in Florida, Houston, Boston, outside of Chicago.
When you got the money, you went to raise. Did you position it as a location-based entertainment play, or what sector did you tell the investors? And then we'll jump to Matt on this, like how, because these are both big ideas. They're very big plays. They take a lot of engineering and ingenuity for a consumer experience. And typically, you know, that's like gets the aftermarket money. So tell me what you said and how that came about, that they said, yeah, we get it. People want this experience. They'll pay for the experience and write a check to get it done.
We initially thought it would be direct to consumer. I think a lot of people during the virtual reality hype thought that VR adoption would skyrocket the same way it did as cell phones. And it's turned out to be the same adoption, but like 3 or 4 times as slow. And so it's taking longer, but still getting there. And so we had to find a new distribution model. And we connected with a gentleman out of China, actually, who became the richest man in China before he was 30 by pioneering free-to-play games. And so luckily you have an individual like this who has the kind of resources that can back something with high risk and can be a single decision maker. They can say, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So this is almost like a spa experience. And then let's jump to Matt, because Matt, yours is almost like an adventure travel, but this is all within the rubric of tourism. So Matt, let's turn to you on this now. So this was a big idea. I mean, you had to build this plane. It had to be everything fitted to having it free for people to float. So hop in here and give us a little idea.
So when thanks again, Allison. So when the 3 founders, which were Peter Diamandis, who has something called X Prize, which does amazing things, Byron Lichtenberg, who is a NASA shuttle astronaut, and Ray Cronus, who is a NASA engineer, came up with this idea over 20 years ago to do this. I don't think, and they'll say they had no idea of the undertaking they were taking on to do this. And I think as you watched in even the 80s and 90s, you would see astronauts in training in their very cool NASA flight suits in these planes floating around and floating weightlessly. And you'd say, wow, that looks really cool. You know, I'd love to do that apart from going to space. So the idea was to take that experience and commercialize it. And over the last 15, 16 years, you know, ZeroG is an iconic name. I mean, we've flown 16,000+ people. We've done hundreds of mission critical things for NASA and other universities in space, suborbital medicine. You know, we've had, you know, celebrities, teachers, billionaires on the plane. And again, it is the one thing, and I hate to say it's adventure tourism because it's a very gentle experience.
Yes, of course.
You make it what you want it to be. I mean, you can, you know, lay down and you can.
Yeah, I take your point. It's not, the risk is not there. But I meant more, it's physical act.
It is. You are in
like engagement is all fully engaged.
Yeah, you're engaged, and you are, if you want, you can do, like we saw in the video, doing somersaults or backflips. You know, after I've done it, you know, more than a few times now, I just kind of like hanging upside down and trying to make sure that I know which is the ceiling and which is the floor, because blood does not rush to your head when you're in zero gravity. So it is and we've had Mark Kelly's been on, we've had other astronauts on, and they'll say the same thing, that this is the same as what they experience, you know, once they get into space. It is that, you know, lack of any pressure on you on what you're experiencing. So.
Well, you know, I come out of interactive television and immersive media. So both of these plays are literally fully immersive. I mean, Ryan, you're immersed in salt water. It's pretty.
No, Ryan's is I'm gonna say his is very cool. And again, I'm really looking forward to trying it out.
Yeah.
I think it's a step to getting people to understand what it's like to have these experiences, and you know, with integrating, you know, VR and floating where you're really not feeling any pressure on you. You know, I think it sounds like an awesome thing to do. Ours, you don't really need VR. You don't need, there's the technology is what we're going to be doing and working on going forward, which we'll talk about in the future. But ours is the pilots fly this thing by hand. There's no autopilot. This is as close to like being in a rocket as you can without any of the risks. Nobody's ever been hurt on our plane.
It's like a little mobile theme park ride, really. I mean,
but it's real. It's
real, right?
There's no.
I just saw a documentary, speaking of which, Ryan, last night on the Disney Plus one on Imagineering, on the history of Imagineering and all of the, so you all must similarly have interesting workshop tales. And do you have anything you could share about any kind of development going forward you're doing, or any other kind of special challenges you had? We'll jump to Ryan and then come back to you again, Matt. When you were starting to build this out?
Yeah, I think there's many surprises every day as we open these locations up. It seems that each location has this unique set of random situations that are generated each time. But luckily, we just casually address each one of them. We're able to keep continuously opening more and more locations. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited about the potential of VR in a float tank. Not a lot of people know, but the military uses float tanks for super learning, specifically for languages. Usually when you're learning a language, you can learn about 100 words a day if you're a very good student. But if you're in a float tank, you can actually learn 2,800 words a day, which is 28 times more than normal. And this is a peer-reviewed study. And so they followed up after 6 months, and they had 100% retention of these 2,800 words. And so it's pretty incredible.
Well, you're basically back in the womb as a completely receptive vessel, right, of sensory deprivation. I mean, this is very well documented. It's fascinating. Matt, on your side, did you ever, I hate to say hit a snag, but was there anything in your development where you're like, oh, wait, we got to do it this way instead?
So again, from having spent time with Peter Diamant, with the three founders, who are all still involved with this thing after that point, some of the stories of what they went through to develop this and dealing with the FAA, and even now, I mean, I am basically a single airplane airline subject to all the same regulatory issues as Delta. So so this is a constant. On top of all these, changing rules. And then we spent 6 weeks on developing what we thought is a top safety protocol for COVID, which again was our first flight a week ago, and it went great, as you can see on the video. It was seamless, and that's very exciting for us going forward. And as much as that, this becomes the ultimate opportunity for someone that's been locked inside or deprived of experiences or didn't get to go on vacation or things like that to be able to do this. So every day is a new day dealing with issues. It's an airplane, it's an airline. I mean, my background is 40 years on Wall Street. I've dealt with a lot of complicated companies. Nothing is remotely close to how complex this is.
You're right. Well, but that's why we love it, right? Like, give ourselves the challenge. So do you have any partnerships you'd like to mention or coming up along those lines of things that you think are going to be helping as you expand?
So we will be, and we can't quite announce who it is, but we'll be announcing in about a month the formation of what will be called Zero Gravity Experiences, which will be creating in zero gravity AR immersive experiences, and with a major studio and a major production company. But until those things are signed, and you all some experience in the entertainment industry can understand the books lengths of documents involved in doing these things.
Yeah.
So, but it's on track, and I'm hoping that by sometime in early October we'll announce it in the plan. But that is the next thing that we'll be doing alongside. Is at some point this year, hopefully we'll announce our first international installation as well.
Great. What about you, Ryan? Any special mentions you want to make of what you're doing going forward, and any partnerships you'd like to give a shout out to?
No, not in particularly. Our main thing is getting as many locations open as possible, and currently just growing that base every day.
Yeah, just cranking it on the ramp, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's cool. It's great. How big do you think your marketplace is? In terms
There's
of
about
dollars?
800 locations that we can partner with. In terms of dollars, it depends what you're offering. I think it's possible to take it past $1 billion in rev. If you have to meet a certain set of criteria for the content that you're distributing and the utility for that content.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's very massive.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Matt? Coming off, as you say, your Wall Street background and finance guy, what do you expect that not just for ZeroG, but this Earth-based space tourism? What do you think that this could be?
I think it's huge. I think it is. I think with the recent success of Elon, who is one of our founding shareholders as well, is continuing to open people's eyes to, space is hot, and it's hot. It's a great thing to talk about and experience it. And there's very finite ways to do it. I mean, at some point next year, at much, much higher price points than us, will be Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic, which for $200,000+, you'll get a 4 or 5 minute ride up into the Kármán line, into 55 miles up. You'll get 3 or 4 minutes of ZeroG. You'll get a great view, and you'll come back down. And between that and then what MLA and Axiom are doing with Elon, which is about a $60 million price tag, there's not a lot of ways to really experience anything that is space related, with the exception of, say, us or more really interesting technology driven ideas like what Ryan is doing. So I think the market's huge. I think everybody wants to have some touch to space, and we're finding it internationally. I mean, we're hearing from all over the world. We have people that fly from all over the world in for ZeroG experiences, and it's a worldwide issue, and with not a lot of ways to meet that demand. So I think it's exciting. There's nothing else out there that people can do, and this is what they want to do.
Well, it's interesting because if speaking of the nexus between entertainment and Hollywood and Madison Avenue brands and space tourism, which is what our conference is about. Our positioning is profiting from the space experience economy. That's our tagline for that reason. I'd love you guys to comment on that, the creativity, the aesthetic approach and all of that, and then coming out of what all these basically 100 years worth of space themed media of many pioneering kinds, some of tech driven and some just plain narratives and storytelling. Just maybe address that in terms of that human experience about being in space. Ryan, jump to you, and then we'll go back to Matt.
Yeah, I think for thousands of years, people have looked up at the stars and wondered. I mean, thinking about Native Americans looking up at aurora borealis and thinking they're gods dancing in the heavens, and then this evolving that to like a Roman time period where there's stories of entire civilizations in the stars. There's just never been a time period where you could actually experience it, and not only where you can actually experience it, but where you can vividly experience it anywhere in the world. You could go, and that's what we're looking to do, is have it accessible to anyone. You can be in London, you can be in Paris, you can be in New York, you can be in Seattle, San Francisco. It's and making it easily accessible to everyone. And I think there's profound shifts that can happen once that's possible, because right now the average person can't connect with space, and a lot of them repel from it because of that, because there's no ability for them to participate in this massive growth of the industry. They're sideline observers, but for this, it's something they could really experience. And as we get our satellite launched, and as we're able to get live footage, it's just going to be profound. You could just go live orbit the Earth this weekend for an hour, and I think we could all get away from things right now, and it would be really good for everyone.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Need to get away, but also the as you say, the universal themes of identifying with characters in this alien or not so alien environment. You know, there's a reason why Star Wars is a $56 billion franchise. There's a reason why all these things endure to this day, that you guys are basically helping to galvanize even further. So Matt, you know, you alluded to, which you haven't announced yet, the specific Hollywood studio connection. Do you want to elaborate a little bit about where you see that intersecting with what this original core business is and where you guys are now?
Yeah, so the plan is to basically integrate somewhat like maybe what's Ryan doing, but more on a storytelling side of you know, being involved and having a zero gravity experience, while at the same time, you know, I mean, if you use Star Wars, for example, you know, Jedi training, you know, in AR in zero gravity, for example, would be an analogy to use. But there's so many different ways of telling stories about space and about experiences, and then using our experience of being weightless as a way to give it a real reality touch. So that is, you know, something that we're developing. And again, I'm hoping by early October we'll have a lot more to talk about. But it's really exciting, and again, it really does get to that nexus of experiences and entertainment and space. And that is, as you know, we've talked about. I mean, as a kid, you know, I was a total space nerd. I mean, I built telescopes. You know, I ground mirrors every night. You know, sold them to local observatories, and you know, we played Star Trek and things like that. So to be involved in this industry at this point is phenomenal. And then it's like, and I tend not to be limited but what has been done before, but thinking about what we can do going ahead. And that's where we are. So it's just this incredible nexus of, I mean, I think next year, the Star Wars Hotel is opening at Disney, which will be very cool. I mean, you'll literally be immersed in Star Wars, you know, from when you go in there, you spend the night, the whole thing. And I think there's going to be continually more things like that to basically give people that touch to more than what we see today.
Yeah, and I see that too, what has happened in our industry, and I'm talking from my core industry, again, the entertainment, digital media side, the more of a willingness among Wall Street to understand that these sectors, the lines are not in silos, and that we do have these interesting plays that are combining various disciplines to create new revenue streams altogether. And I think, you know, that's where we all sit with this, with space tourism, that we are being open-minded in terms of actually having a profitable path to be combining these various disciplines. It's really great that you guys are pioneering these and doing it with such enthusiasm. Let us see if we have a couple of questions. We don't have a lot of time. I don't see anybody saying anything except to each other. I do see a note to make sure that we know that the International Space Station is nominated for a Nobel Prize again, and to be supporting all those efforts. Oh, here's my little timer. I guess one other thing that I had wanted to know really quickly is, what among in this world are your hero companies, aside from what you two are doing? Like, who else are you looking to and following and tracking and giving thumbs up to?
I really like Lilium. Do you know Lilium?
I don't know.
It's a vertical takeoff and landing vehicle for, it's fully electric, 300-mile range. I think that's amazing, and it will change transportation forever. I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, there's so many cool stuff, and low Earth things too. Oh, I see. Are there plans for SpaceVR and ZeroG to work together? Are you guys thinking you might be working together? Frank wants to know.
Why not?
What do you think, Matt?
I say why not? I think that there is a definite VR experience in zero gravity. You know, I've talked to my team about this, thinking, is it too much overload floating and things like, and then being immersed? I said, no, we've actually done it, and I think you could probably create a very cool space-like experience, VR at the same time doing zero gravity parabolas. So we're definitely would be interested.
I actually have a funny story on that note, and that's that during our Kickstarter, our top prize was to do VR in a ZeroG flight. And so at the end of our Kickstarter, I was nerve-wracked because we were not over the goal, and it was like days until the end. I remember trying to figure out anything I could do, and at the last moment, someone came in and actually bought the ZeroG flight. And so we actually have someone on the books that already has.
That is hilarious. So you used ZeroG as a prize in your fundraising for SpaceVR?
Yeah, it's a long time ago as a Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's awesome though, as a Kickstarter thing. Well, see, that just shows that the thematic tie of what's the imagination to the B2C play like this that we know they cross over this way. Ryan, are you going to go to the UK? Is the question.
There are many float spas in the UK, and we actually are very close to hiring someone in the UK who asked me the same question yesterday. Okay. I think yes. Right now we're getting our current 23 locations up and operational smoothly, and then we'll be expanding to many. I think it's very likely in the next, I'd say 6 months, we would be in the UK.
Great, that sounds likely. So, Matt, do you have any closing words here for our fans?
My closing words are for those that have ever dreamed of being in space and the price tag of a shot to the ISS or suborbital exceeds your ability, which for sure does mine. Come in and fly with us and have the most amazing experience of your life. People that come off of our plane, generally the most common phrases are life-changing, I never thought it was possible, how can I do it again?
Wow, well, that's a great way to wrap up here. Ryan, do you want to tell everyone how they can get in touch with you? Maybe LinkedIn, or there's people have a bunch of specific personal business questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is perfect. You can just add me there, or just send me an email at ryan@spacevr.co, and I see that very often. Do you mind if I answer a few of the questions, Allison?
Well, I think we're just going to go down some rabbit holes. Synaptic vests.
One of them is, are we going to do a live camera on the ISS? We've switched it over to our own satellite. That's the main focus right now, is finishing that out. I'm not familiar with a synaptic vest. Sorry.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, Matt, I'm going to put the ball in your court to see what the two of you guys can do together, and then we can talk about it in April at the conference.
Fantastic. We really look forward to being there.
I think that's our idea. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. The next one is in October with Axiom, and you'll see the promo for that, and hope you all come back. And thank you guys for your time. It was awesome. We love having all these experts who are doing such interesting and groundbreaking things. It's part and parcel. So profiting from the space experience economy. Thank you. See you guys later.
Thank you very much.
Great. Cheers.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, everyone. Bye.